Welcome to The Longer Game. If you're listening to a show about retail being reimagined. If you'd like to connect with The Longer Game, look for The Longer Game at thelongergame.com and on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn at The Longer Game. We're here to talk about retail, why it's changing, how it's changing, and what you can expect in the future. We're not trying to take ourselves too seriously, but we do want to know what that retail landscape is going to look like. I hope you enjoy your time listening to this podcast. We try to keep it as quick as possible because we don't want to waste your time, but we want to keep you informed. Thanks for tuning in. Now, here's the show. Welcome, everybody, to The Longer Game. I don't know why I had my hand up here. That seems like it's probably improper, but welcome. I'm very aggressive today, but welcome to The Longer Game. I'm excited to talk with you about retail and about the future of retail. That's what we're all about here at The Longer Game, is just talking about the future of retail, what's happening right now, how is it evolving. And I'm very excited to have, I'm just going to say, my new good friend, Erik Kiker, on the show. Yeah, he runs a, I would say, branding company called The Digestible Brand, and we're going to talk a little bit more about what you've been doing over the past couple months. But I just want to say, I've not had a real in-depth conversation with Erik until right now. So this is very fresh, but I already know that I gel with him because I see the content that he puts out. It seems very genuine. It's very authentic. That's what I'm all about, is authenticity. Even if it gets a little messy and it's like, well, why would you say that? That seems kind of rude. Well, here's why I said it. Oh, okay, cool. So there's sometimes when things get messy, you can get into better understanding and you get into more levels of authenticity, and then there's more intimacy, and intimacy in a good way, in a friend way. Everything doesn't have to be sexual, people. I know that that's where my head always goes, but yeah, there's more closeness, and you really learn more about someone. So, Erik, tell me about what you've been up to the past couple months.
I'm trying to make.
And
well, thank you, Michael. Thanks for having me on. What I've been doing for the past couple of months, and really for the last year, is trying to make marketing work better for marketers. I've discovered this thing in my work. I started. It was about a year ago. I was working on an output for a client, and I this thought occurred to me. What is it that makes somebody love a brand? And I started thinking about it, and I was like, well, you know what? If you really, really, really love a brand, that brand is doing something for you that is improving your self-esteem. It's improving the way you feel about yourself. And I think.
And what makes you say that? I'm just really curious as to the ethos behind that, because I agree with it, but I want to hear you articulate that.
Well, I think why else would you love a brand? Like, really truly love a brand and want it around you and on you and in your mouth and in your body all the time? Like, why would that? It's got to be. We are human beings, although we don't. None of us, I don't think. I mean, I do, but a lot of people don't like talking about psychology and what's going on in our subconscious minds. And some people don't even think that.
I love
Some people
that.
don't even think our subconscious mind is affecting us at all. Like, I'm in
Yeah,
control,
I
man.
like listening to. My wife is one of those people who doesn't like talking about that. So if I want to have those kind of conversations, I got to come talk to you, Erik, because she's like, that's really boring. I don't want to talk about that. But I still love her and want her around
Good.
and in my mouth and on my body and all that kind of stuff. Which is why you're typically in a relationship, I think, with someone, is because they help you to feel better about yourself and be
Well,
a
yeah.
better
Why do you
version of
love
yourself.
another human being? I mean, I think most of us
Yeah.
truly love people. If it's not sort of like a destructive relationship or a codependent
Right.
relationship, the reason that we're with that person is they make us feel good about ourselves.
And we feel like we have the potential, and when things are done right, we have the potential to do great things. I would not be an entrepreneur sitting here doing what I'm doing today if it wasn't for my wife. Not just because there have been times when I've been making a lot less money or I didn't take a paycheck, but it was because she was mentally, emotionally supportive of me in being an entrepreneur. And it's super difficult. So any entrepreneurs out there, find community. That's how I really started to come around. But I was going to say that, you know, how like I love talking about psychology, subconscious mind, all that stuff. Like I would listen to, or I did listen to Sam Harris and Jordan Peterson trying to have a podcast, and they spent 2.5 hours discussing the premise of what they would talk about, and they couldn't agree on some basic ground rules. So that was the whole podcast, them disagreeing on the ground rules.
Right.
Well, I'm not going to agree with that because of this. And it was so entertaining. But you're right. Some people will be like, click, that's boring. I want to hear about how someone's night out on the town or whatever the case may be. So feel free to expand as much as you want on the psychological or
Well,
philosophical
yeah,
part stuff.
cool. I mean,
I'm in for that.
that's just what I believe. I believe that um, we have this little thing. I think it runs around in a part of our brain called the amygdala, and it's our survival instinct. And a lot of us probably,
The reptilian
well, yeah,
brain.
it's the thing that says, uh, "What did you what did you do yesterday? I did this. Did you Are you still alive? Yes. Do that again." Because we are. I think I don't have a bunch of letters behind my name to prove any of this out or to support any of my opinions, but I've done a lot of
Mm.
reading and I've done a lot of listening and I've done a fair amount of thinking about this idea that we are wired for survival. It used to be a whole lot more important before we sort of got the
Yeah.
technology and the modern stuff that we have now. But I think,
And some of that's working against us now, that survival instinct, I
how
think.
so?
We see things that are different than us that we don't like, and things that are foreign to us. And in the past, you know, anthropologically or evolutionarily speaking, something we didn't know and we were unsure of, we were very cautious around. And if we were harmed by it in any way, we instantly said, "Don't be around that thing." So, like a saber-toothed tiger
Totally.
um, bites us. But now, if you're white or if you're black and you've had a bad interaction with someone of the other race, you could form a opinion about a whole group of people, and I'd say very prematurely and wrongly as well, just because of an interaction you have. And then every interaction you have that is negative, it reinforces that, and then the positive ones, because your mind is so closed off and it's that reptilian side, it'll say, oh, that's not the odds are still against you. That's just a coincidence. You got lucky that time. So I think that reptilian side has caused us, as we try to be a more, my goal is to be loving to people. I love all people, even the murderers, the killers, all those people. And here's why: they were all made in the image of God. And I believe they all are worthy of being humans and being treated well. And so even if you've done something bad, it doesn't mean I say, okay, what you did was okay, but you still deserve love. You still deserve to be
Yeah,
treated like a human. And
I
I
buy
think,
all of that. And another way to say that um, is to say that everybody is doing the best they can in the moment with what they have at their disposal. I don't.
exactly. There's so many. I think about kids who don't have someone saying, you can graduate high school and go to college. If nobody's saying that in that kid's life, and their dad isn't around and their mom's working two jobs, or their mom also isn't around and they're by themselves and their friends are getting in trouble, they're going to go get in trouble too. That's their environment. So if you don't have positive people building into you, I don't think you're going to have a positive outlook on life. And if you have outlook on life, and if you have negative people building into you, I think it's going to end up being negative. So yeah, I think you're absolutely right. People are doing the best they can with what they have the
Yeah, and I
disposal
think if we all
is
realize
at
that,
their
I think we would
disposal.
all do much, much better as a species. But I think what you were saying about that reptilian brain, I see somebody that doesn't look like me, that looks
Yeah.
unfamiliar. That's a warning, and I think that
Right.
warning is okay. But from a
Yeah.
historical standpoint and from an ancient human standpoint, it was maybe important, like life threateningly important. But now
Right.
it's sort of like this whole thing, like the conversations we had around racism that really
Yeah.
peaked a couple of summers ago. And you had people, it was even hard for me, being a student of psychology, to finally break through, let my guard down, and say, yeah, I have biases. Grew up in the
Right.
South. My family grew up in the South. I had these things that were sort of like a part of every day, that colored my sort of thinking. And now I have to admit, I do have biases, but I also have this
Yeah.
great big prefrontal cortex that
Right. That
allows me to
allows me to
go,
think.
oh, you're being a you're that's your bias that's being set off right now. Let's overcome that with with
There we go.
conscious thought. And so,
Yeah.
I mean, I saw so many people saying, "Oh, I'm not racist. I'm not racist. I love it. I don't even see skin color." And it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
that's the thing that tips us off.
How can
Just
you
say you
not?
have biases.
Yeah, and then you're more real and
Right. So,
authentic.
but see, that underlies the idea behind, a lot of people. I idolize Brene Brown. She talks a lot about vulnerability, and
Hmm.
vulnerability is so difficult for people because you let your guard down. Especially, I think, as men, I think you let your guard down, and I think what that
Hmm.
survival instinct is telling you is don't let your guard down, man. They'll call you weak, or they'll call you a baby, or worse yet, they'll call you
Hmm.
a PSS, PUSS, you know what? Um,
Yeah.
and
I love that you spelled that out, by the
wrong,
way.
I spelled it wrong. Uh,
You spelled it wrong, but still you spelled out. That was like I want to say cute, but it was cool also
I
that
don't want
you
to
that
say
you
the
that you did
word.
that.
I don't even
Anyways,
want to say the word.
I
I
know
think
you
it's
don't
so
want to say it.
degrading. It's
Yeah.
not even about being
Mhm.
broadcast. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
so the survival instinct is telling us don't be vulnerable because they'll come take your stuff, or they'll criticize you, or they'll,
Yes, they'll take your
yeah.
stuff.
So,
That's like such a basic way of looking at it. Like they will take your stuff. They will somehow take your good name or what you feel is your good name. They could take some of your property. They could steal your partner, whatever the case might be. But they can take your stuff, and so that survival instinct kicks in, and then as soon as we are hurt, um, the guard goes back up, and
oh
it
yeah.
becomes much harder to
Or in
come
this
back
day and
down.
age, if they don't take my stuff, they're going to take my worth, right? I mean, I know
Yeah,
that this is about retail, right? This is about food brands. So I'll bring up one of the things that I think
we can go wherever we can go wherever we want. People know
this
what it's
is this
about.
is cool because I think it's cool because it ties right into what we're talking about.
Okay.
Snickers, right? Snickers has been around for like 30 years. They've had the same basic brand position, and brand positioning, for anybody that doesn't know or that wants to know what I mean by that, is what do you stand for? Why
Right.
would I buy you over something that looks like you? What is your position? Um, and Snickers' brand position from the very beginning has always been this is not a candy bar. This is something that you eat between meals when you're busy and you're not around other food when you're hungry, right? So for decades, they did these things like the famous, some people might remember it, the guy's painting the end zone. And you pull back, and instead of Chiefs, it says chefs. And the voiceover comes in and
That's
says,
funny.
not going anywhere for a while? Have a Snickers. Packed with peanuts, Snickers really satisfying.
That was a great voiceover
Oh,
voice, by the
thanks.
way.
I'm available for hire, but I'm
Okay,
not
good.
very good, so I could never get scale. But what they've done recently is they did this giant, I'm sure very expensive consumer insights study. And what they realized was the young men who tend to eat Snickers, it's always been young men who tend to eat Snickers, are very worried about maintaining their position in their social circle. So it's the same
Okay.
thing we were just talking about. If I'm with my buddies and one of my buddies says some crap about some street person, if I don't go along with them, then I'm a baby or a weakling or a panty waist, or pick your derogatory.
Panty waist. Wow, I've never heard that
Oh,
before. I
it's an
like
old
that though.
English term from 4,000
Okay.
years ago when I was born. Uh,
I'm gonna call my wife a panty waist and see
yeah,
what
see what
happens.
happens. She'll probably punch you right in the panty waist.
And I'll probably
Yeah,
deserve
you
it.
will. Um, So it's the same thing. So they did. So this campaign that they've come out with, I think that they're still running. You're not you when
Yeah.
you're hungry. And the
Mm.
commercial that I remember is, a bunch of young men who eat Snickers are playing some sort of football. Probably touch or flag or whatever. And the quarterback is yelling at one of the guys because he can't catch the ball. And then the camera cuts around and shows that the guy is actually Betty White.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I love
And
that one.
so Betty White has a Snickers and turns back into Billy or whatever his name is. And it's
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
played for laughs, but the sociological, I think that's the right word, um, implications of it say you're not you when you're hungry, which does a couple of things. At first, it lets the person off the hook for being hangry or just hungry or
Yeah.
dropping the ball, lets you off the hook. That wasn't me in the huddle. It was actually, it was Betty White.
It was Betty White. Yeah.
So,
And Betty White was cool enough to go along with this to say, "Hey, I'm not really a football player, so if someone were a football player, might be the opposite of me. So
um,
I'm going to be the opposite of a football
right.
player."
So the campaign is played for humor, which is awesome. Uh,
Yeah.
but it lets people off the hook for being human, and it says, "Hey, look, here's your solution." And it
Yeah.
gives those young men who eat Snickers back their social, their position in that circle, because you desperately
Hmm.
don't want to lose that, and we're all like that. And so
And I like to call what you said it gives them uh, an excuse, I guess, for or lets them
lets
off
them
the
off
hook
the
for
hook
being
for being
human.
human.
I like to call that grace. That's one of the
Grace
words
is a great
I
word.
use very
Yeah, it's a
often.
great word.
And I've been given so much grace, not just by God but by other people for the stupid things that I've done and the times I've messed up. And I think right now in the world, we've been talking about racism or racial reconciliation. Like we need when someone says something that's hateful or hurtful, we got to give those people grace and say, look, here's why what you said is hurtful, and here's where this could be an opportunity to change and actually include more people as a part of your circle because of XYZ. And I think what we often do is shame people and say, you're terrible, you're a bad person. It's like, no, they had faulty information. They were choosing to be selfish. They were being they were being an asshole, but they still are human. Like let's give them some grace and say, hey, here's what you actually should have done in this case or in this scenario, and how do you feel about that? Like I like instead of being the angry people with the pitchforks, like let's try and love people into. I know that sound people are gonna probably disagree with that, and I don't really
It's
care,
it's
but like
so woo woo,
let's
Michael. I mean, God.
yeah, let let's love people into a new position because yelling at them and holding the fiery pitchforks, that's not going to work.
Understanding people and what they're going through. The only meme that I've ever seen that has actually given me a whole lot of value is the one that says, "Everyone you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about. Be kind."
Yeah, no, absolutely. That has been a huge. I'm so glad you said that because that's been a huge theme in my life just over the past year. I talk about as I get older, but really it's as I dig in and start to find out more about the people that are around me, people that I've known for a while. And as I start to really dig deep and get closer with those people, I realize everyone has something. And I think we could sit here and compare and say, well, the thing that I'm dealing with is more public, so it's worse. And the thing I'm dealing with is whatever. And I think we could compare that. But I think if we could all just say, look, everyone has something they're dealing with. If you're um, you're dealing with infidelity in your marriage, but no one else knows that. That's an incredibly difficult thing to. I can't imagine because I have not had to
Yeah,
deal with
good.
that. But it's something that I'm very guarded as a man, knowing that I believe men tend to lust, and men are kind of prone. I think even anthropologically speaking, um, and I know there's been a lot of jokes made about like men just want to sow their seeds. So like monogamy is too cruel a rule. But I believe in monogamy, and so
Yeah,
I'm
I do
cool with
too.
that. And I know that maybe it doesn't fit evolutionary perspectives, but I think it fits societal norms for
Right.
me, and so
That's
I'm
what
okay
we've
with that.
done is
But
we've taken. I mean, it's the study of evolutionary psychology says
yeah,
that that's why men sometimes act the way they do because of that
right.
biological imperative. But again, there's a thing.
but we made a difference socially, and I don't think everyone needs to get married. I'm not saying that that's what is the right thing to do, but if you believe in marriage, like I believe in marriage, I believe you marry one person and stay committed
That's
to that
cool. I do
person.
too.
I'm not gonna if you have a different lifestyle and you want to be married to multiple people, I'm not gonna judge. That's not my thing. That's not the hill I'm gonna die on. But I'll tell you what I believe in. But ultimately, everyone's got their thing that they're going through. There's people are hurting so much, and the little things that we can do, like maybe leave a little bit extra of a tip on a bill, even
Hmm.
when someone was really rude to us, and just walk away and say, "Man, I really hope that just blesses that person and that changed their
Yeah.
perspective and that mindset." Or just saying, "Hey, I really like you have a great smile." Like you don't need to say that to someone, but that could totally change trajectory for them. And you're totally right. Everyone's fighting a battle we know nothing about.
Yeah.
Be
Be
kind
kind.
could not be more.
Kindness is what I'm trying to. I did a LinkedIn thing a while ago. That's the only way I market myself is through LinkedIn. And I did a LinkedIn thing that said
I'm with
kindness
you.
is a growth strategy for brands. So
Okay, and let's talk a little bit more about this because you had said before we hit record, and I said let's start recording because this is too good not to record. You had said you believe that most brand messaging
I do.
fails, and I feel like this ties into that. So tell me, why do you feel like most brand messaging fails? Because I do think it lines up um, with what you were
Well,
just
it
about to
does.
say.
I mean, most brand messaging fails because of that idea that we just talked about. Everyone is fighting a battle you know nothing about. Be kind. But you could also say everyone is fighting a battle they will not tell you about, or
Mm,
they might not even know about. So we have a lot of things going on in this subconscious mind of ours that we aren't able to access. The subconscious mind works at an order of magnitude faster than our
mm-hmm.
prefrontal cortex or our conscious mind. There's a lot of things from your childhood and your past and your everything that piles up in there and creates a story that you believe about me. I believe this story that I tell myself about me. That is probably not altogether true, but it doesn't matter
Yeah.
because I believe it. So,
Did you ever read a book called The Four Agreements? I feel like you
no.
have. Oh, you
Okay.
should. It
Um,
would it would be
okay,
good for
cool.
you.
I don't.
Hey, you know what? I'll do even better. Give me your address and I'll send
Okay,
you a
cool.
copy.
I will do that. I hate reading, but I'll
I
but I'll but I'll read it
Oh, well then let me give you five
if you
bucks and you can
insist.
buy it on Audible or something. It's a quick, easy read.
Okay,
I'll do whatever I
I'd
can to
love
help
it.
you
I'd
check
love
it
it.
out.
I,
But
I like I
listen to it
like
on
new I
Audible.
like new
It's good.
thoughts that aren't my own. Uh,
No, but the reason I said that is because you're kind of talking about that without knowing
right.
about it.
Okay, so I'll give you an example why most messaging I think fails. It doesn't take into consideration. We all know about marketing objections, right? If you ever call customer service to try to cancel something, they've got a whole list of objection handling things that they're supposed to say. So
Yep.
we all have objections to marketing, but what if what if the person won't tell you their actual deepest objection? And what if that is because they don't even know what it is? Because it's operating in their
Mm.
subconscious mind. So, for an example, you run a weight loss brand. And around January,
Okay.
we see all the weight loss brands, and they all essentially do the same thing. They show me dozens and dozens of before and after pictures, right?
Hmm.
I'm a person who is
And I'm gonna take their thermogenic pill and I'm gonna lose weight
that's what
instantly
they
and look
that's what
rock
they tell
hard.
you, and they think that all these pictures are going to be proof of their concept. So,
Hey, you're talking about my brand here, okay? I own a weight
all
loss
right, well, you
brand.
better be careful.
I actually should be really. I
Well,
don't
maybe you'd
really,
pick
but
up a little bit of something out of this if you believe what I'm saying. So, I am a person sitting at home looking at this ad on Facebook or whatever, and I have had, like many people, ups and downs, successes and failures when it comes to diet. Right now,
mhm,
I'm in a failure mode, right? So whatever weight I lost before, I put back on. You show all these before and afters. My subconscious, which I think again from a survival perspective is hard on me because that's what
mhm,
keeps me trying to do better, right?
mhm.
So it
Okay.
will
I
say,
like how you put
ever
that.
heard anybody say, I'm so stupid. I can't believe I did that. I'm so stupid. I think that's the
Yeah, yeah.
subconscious mind sneaking through. We want to think it's a joke, that I really don't think I'm that stupid. But in that moment, I think maybe I think I'm that stupid. So anyway, I've
Yeah.
had these successes and failures. I see all of these before and afters. What's the likelihood that my subconscious says to me, that might work for those people, but I'm not that good?
Oh, you went a totally different place than I was thinking, so that's good. I
Those
like that.
people have it way more together than I do. Look at all the failures.
Yeah, I
Look at all the
there's no way
failures.
I could do
And
this.
I don't want to fail again. So what's easier for me? To click the buy button or to say no? So I think
Okay.
it's easier for me to say no. And that brand could say to this argument of mine, well, our sales are up 30% year over year. I could say, well, if you took a different perspective towards your messaging, your sales might be up 80% year over year.
What would you do differently then?
In my workshop process, I worked with a doctor of psychology in addition to the people from the brand. And on day 3 of our 3-day, 3-hour a day process, we spend the whole time talking about the consumer. And we ask a number of questions, but the two that are the most key are, what are the enemies we're fighting on behalf of our consumer? Okay. And then the next question is, what are the enemies they're fighting inside themselves as it relates to our brand? And so we come
Hmm.
up with a list of the deeper objections that consumer would say if they were exposed to the basic value proposition of this new brand.
Whether they know why they're saying it or not subconsciously, but we know that
That's
they're
why
going to
we're
say it
using a
because
doctor
we're
of
looking into the
psychology to sort of
subconscious.
like, okay, what are people not telling us that they are feeling that will affect their buying decision?
It's crazy that you can get so into a subjective area of feelings, and in order to really know and understand there, you have to get into a really scientific mindset. I just think those two things are very juxtaposed, and so that's kind of
Yeah.
a
Well, good.
beautiful mix of
I'm
things
glad
together.
you see it that way. I mean, I'll give you another example. A client of mine has a brand called Coco Fit, and
Okay.
she was just telling me about a bunch of POs that she got the other day. So she's going to be doing really amazing, and you're going to be seeing her product in stores shortly, probably in the fall. Um,
Okay.
she basically set out to make a far superior Nutella.
Oh,
Yeah.
good.
So, she had young daughters. They were athletes. They were playing volleyball. They were eating Nutella by the,
By the tub
case.
load.
And she
Oh
looked
yeah.
at the label, and it was like she was fairly appalled at the amount of sugar and the almost no protein. And
Yeah.
so she remade it, and it's only got 5 or 6 ingredients. There's some collagen protein in there. There's some coconut sugar. There's some
Oh
right,
wow.
and so it's a really, really delicious chocolate spread that's actually super good for you.
I can't believe it's got protein in it. That makes me
That
really
makes me really
excited.
happy because I like the idea of teeter tottering the protein and the carbs. Uh,
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Well, and protein. One of the reasons I like protein in anything is, and why I'll even say, oh, if I'm eating a meal that's kind of high in carbs, I still want to make sure I have protein, is because eating of the protein will actually delay
right.
the anything glucose or
Slows
that's
it down.
converted into glucose hitting your blood sugar. It slows
Yeah,
it down, and so you're not going to have as high of a glycemic
totally.
response.
So we did my process, and I'll just shortcut it for you. The deepest objection that we came up with on the behalf of our consumer was, and it's always in the first person, how on earth am I ever going to eat healthy when bad food tastes so good?
Mm.
And so, again, like the Snickers example, we're letting people off the hook for feeling the way they feel. How can you eat healthy in this day and age? There's Taco
Yeah.
Bell, there's Chick-fil-A, there's all these, amazing fast food places where it's so delicious. And in the
Yeah.
store,
Nutella. Nutella tastes
so
incredible.
good. You could just sit there with a
Yeah.
spoon.
I would do
So
that.
And we know, I mean, you've got to, I don't think there's anybody alive that would say, oh, eating healthy foods is a really stupid idea. I don't
Yeah,
think
yeah.
people would say
I
that.
think
Of
you're
course,
probably
eating
right.
healthy foods is a good idea. But how can I eat healthy when bad food tastes too good? And so the tagline for the brand is we won't eat better till it tastes better.
Mm.
And that is our goal as a brand, is to create foods, starting with this one in a variety of forms, that will satisfy that mission. We are going to make good food taste better.
Okay.
Um, it's different for me than the nutritious meets delicious language that we hear in the natural channel,
Hmm.
because that doesn't take into consideration what the human is feeling.
Right.
We won't eat better until it tastes better. I can see somebody reading that and going, wow, somebody understands. And again, maybe it happens back here in the subconscious,
Oh, for
but
sure.
somebody understands the fight that I have when it comes to trying to eat healthy, trying to get my kids to eat healthy, all of that stuff. So that's essentially what I'm doing with my work, is I'm saying, what is the deepest objection? What is the function of the brand that, and how do we put those two things together to create a message that overcomes, that soothes that reactionary response that wants to make me push that brand away?
So not only are you getting the people in terms of getting them to like or acquire the product, but you're going right up front and saying we already know what the objection is, and instead of waiting for you to ask it, we're gonna state the objective by answering it in a way that does not make you put up your guard. It makes you accept it and say, "Hey, that's what I've been thinking that all along, but I've never been able to
Or that
articulate it
appeals to me,
in
or
that
yeah,
way."
or that. And so that was very well stated on your case, on your part. So the thought is, if my marketing, if my messaging makes somebody feel a little bit better about themselves, because if I let you off the hook in any way, and we never do it in a way that's sort of like super obvious, oh, you feel
Yeah.
lousy about yourself, so stop. I mean, that wouldn't work. Um,
Try eating more
yeah.
cauliflower.
Uh, if I can let you off the hook and make you feel a little bit better about yourself, I will create a bond to the brand.
And that is the key for me is the relationship. It's building a relationship and humanizing the brand and building a relationship with that person. And when those two things meet, now you've got brand loyalty in a way that you'd never have brand loyalty
As long
before.
as the brand keeps taking that deeper objection and keeps soothing it in various different
Yeah.
ways. So then when I get that first email after I've bought from Amazon from this product
Hmm.
or whatever, um, that messaging is continued. So my thinking is, and I'll need some time to get some case studies, but, and I'm also talking to some people about maybe doing some market research in a
Okay.
tricky way, that sort of like, I'm not going to ask people how they feel when they see a thing because they'll never be able to tell me accurately. Um, that'll prove this thesis out. But
Okay.
the thought is, every time I talk to that consumer, if I keep that deepest objection in mind, the bond grows stronger. To where
Okay.
now I see in my subconscious mind, and maybe in my conscious, if the brand lets them in on it at some point in time, or we get to talk about it.
Oh, I like that. I like how you said that. Yeah.
Now I love that brand. I love that brand because before I ever bought anything from me, they made me feel a little bit better about myself.
They gave you some grace about being
Yeah,
you.
there's a, like I say, the double edged sword of this is, the Greek myth of Sisyphus, guy that has a
Yes.
gold.
Although I did fail Greek
I
mythology
didn't
in
take any
college. That
Greek
was the
mythology.
one
Yeah,
class
I
I
don't even know
failed.
where I heard it, but
I took a grade replacement for that and got a D.
nice.
And it was like my wife and I were dating at the time, and I was like, well, I mean, I got better than the F, so I don't know what
Yeah,
to
you
say.
you did better. Um,
There's a Heracles and a Hercules. How am I supposed to know the difference
no
between
way.
those
No way
two
to keep that stuff
people?
straight. So
Anyway, so
Sisyphus got
Sisyphus.
sideways with Zeus, got condemned to roll a huge boulder uphill all day, every day, and then it falls back to the bottom and now repeat. Um, I've done this thing on LinkedIn a couple times where I found this really neat little GIF of like a stick figure person doing that. And
Yeah.
I make the point that we are all Sisyphus. We all have
Mm-hmm.
these struggles that nobody knows about,
Every
and
day.
that
Every
and
day.
what makes it worse is we don't like the idea of showing the world those struggles. Because again, it's back to that vulnerability. People are going to take my stuff, they're going to call me weak or whatever. So marketers don't ever have any idea that people are dealing with these things. So the marketer just keeps coming with the lose 25 pounds in the next 15 minutes. Or
And the reptilian brain, like we said, it's becoming, the need to survive is becoming less important, but we still have stuff there. I think the reptilian and subconscious side of us is so apparent on social media because most people are posting their, quote unquote best
right,
lives. They're not posting, I just lost my mom. I mean, I think more people are opening up
right.
about that, but even then they could say, I just lost my mom, she was a great lady, but they're not saying, oh man, I just cried for 30 minutes in my car outside of Kroger because I was supposed to do this with my mom today and she just passed away, a month ago or something like that. Like no one is being, I think, on a consistent basis that honest. And even if there are people, I try to be honest, but even then, sometimes I might have rose colored glasses and stuff, but we're putting the best on display. And I have a good buddy named Ronell Richards who talks about entrepreneur porn, which is the, man, I'm so successful. Look at all this stuff I've done. I've got all the money, the cars, the clothes. I'm running. I'm a serial entrepreneur, whatever the case might be. But like most entrepreneurs have dealt with a lot of struggles, and that's the reality of
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneurship. Not the car, not the Mark Zuckerbergs, not the Steve Jobs. Like most entrepreneurs have had a lot different, maybe similar struggles, but have had a lot different end result and aren't living the entrepreneur porn life. And that's another reason why people don't want to let their guard down even more. It just reinforces because look at how great this person's doing. Look at how great this person's doing. Look at how great this person's doing. Why would I want to share it with anyone, especially a marketer who is not a person that I necessarily see a great benefit of this relationship uh, being on my part? I'm giving you my money. What am I getting out of this? This is a solve, I think, for that.
Yeah, I mean, thankfully, I think that what I'm doing is coming along at the right time because I do see people being more vulnerable and letting their guards down and talking about their failures
Mm-hmm.
and asking for help. Um, you know,
I know I try to do that all the time on LinkedIn, and it resonates with people. It resonates because
I
it's
think
true.
people love it because it's so refreshing. Because I think intrinsically we know that the perfect Instagram life doesn't really exist. It's not. It's fake, um,
Yep.
and fine.
Just like reality TV shows fake, but we still
Yeah,
watch it.
no kidding. Um,
I was trying to explain reality shows to my daughter, who's 9, and it was so crazy because she said, "Is this supposed to be real?" We were watching The Office, and she said, "So is this a real show?" And so I had explained to her that it was a mockumentary, and she was like, "Okay, but like," she got it eventually. But I was like, "Man, I'm having to tell her about reality shows and how they started real, but now people write scripts for them and all this stuff, and it's crazy." And she picked it up, but I just was like, "We are living in a weird
uh-huh.
world right now." Where reality shows are fake and now we're making movies about true stories. Like that seems
It's a funny
crazy.
time. It's a really funny
Yeah.
time. But so yeah, that's in a nutshell, sort of like the epiphany that I had about a year ago. And I think I've always done messaging sort of instinctively in this way,
Hmm.
but now it's more purposeful, and there's more of a structure and a purpose to it. And so I think it's making people happy, um, and hopefully it's making it. The whole idea behind it, and when you listen to it on the surface, you could say, "Oh, this guy's just like woo woo, altruistic, kindness, da da da
Yeah.
da da." But no, it's kindness is a growth strategy. If you can really, really understand that
Mm,
person that you're selling to, they are going to be more likely to buy. You are going to have less friction from people. You're going to have to hit them fewer times in your ads before they actually click. You are going to build a
yeah.
bond with them that's based on, hey, I see you. I understand what you're going through on a deep, deep level that you might not even understand. So I'm going to give you a message that helps you feel a little bit better about yourself and therefore give my product a try. And then I'm going to create a bond with you over time that keeps you coming back, which of course costs less to remarket.
But you're doing the work up front on the branding side, on the story, on the messaging, so that you can get to a place where you can actually do that with consumers. And so many people want to just, I've got a great idea for a brand, let's put it together, boom, 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 boom. People are going to love the product, but like people buy products, but they also buy stories. They also buy into the messaging, which is why people probably wear Nike and feel more athletic. Why that would like why you would need a Nike golf shirt, except unless you're maybe Tiger Woods or something. I don't really know, but people still buy them. People still like them.
It's a
So I think you said, people might think this is just me being altruistic. I think altruistic. I think you're being realistic. And by being realistic, you're identifying the pessimism that we already know is there and is alive and well. And you're turning into something that can be altruistic and saying, hey, what you feel is your greatest crutch doesn't have to be your greatest crutch. You're a human. Give yourself some grace and start loving yourself a little bit more. And hey, we think this thing that we have for you can actually help you to get to that better place. So I think it's finding altruism, but through the pathway of realism. If we simply ignore the negative aspects of things and we think, I mean, for the longest time, if I think, man, I'm just trying to live a life where I'm happy all the time, I'm never gonna be happy because I'm I'm not facing the fact that life is filled with pain and it's something that we cannot avoid. Pain is unavoidable in life. You can bring yourself more pain. Sometimes you can avoid, some pain, but it everybody will have and experience pain. So the more that you embrace that and say, "Hey, I know that I'm going to experience pain, but I have hope and I have faith that I can make it through that pain and come out stronger." And me going through that pain and then sharing that with other people and being vulnerable, that can actually help those people to get through that pain better. And we can make our, like you said, species better over time. Then you start living a life where I feel like it comes now from a place of joy. I believe that God can use every single negative thing in your life and turn it into something positive. And so when I met with stress, I still feel the stress, but I go, okay, like I know I'm going to get through this. This is frustrating. There's got to be an answer. There's something. Maybe the answer is I failed this and I have to stop it and start over. And maybe that's not the answer I initially wanted, but there is a way through this to get through this. And getting delivered out of it actually prevents you from getting the learning and the knowledge and understanding and growth that comes from dealing with that pain. And so now when I see and meet pain, I'm even like, you know what? I'm so thankful for this because now I know that this is just another opportunity for me to grow and learn. Like I did a really difficult workout yesterday. I had to do something really quick for time, and I pushed myself, and it hurt. Like it sucked in the middle of it. I know if you use it, we are talking about doing
Yeah.
CrossFit before, so you've done some painful stuff. And afterwards, I was like, man, I'm just so thankful I got to do that because I really got to see how I pushed myself. I experienced the pain. I knew I was going to get through it. It was just a really tough 6 minutes,
Yeah,
but I made it
that's
through the
awesome.
6 minutes, and I'm
Yeah.
better now.
I see what I'm doing as capitalistic altruism. So
Yeah,
it's
I love that.
designed to sell more products more easily for brands. And
But also better product too. Better product that's meeting more of the consumer needs because they're actually focused on what the consumer needs, not just selling
yeah,
more
for
stuff.
sure. So, and then about that whole like, and this is a good example of how we don't like facing our doubts. We don't like facing our fears. We don't like facing our sort of insecurities. But like, have you ever gotten up in the middle of the night to go pee or whatever, and you come back and you start worrying about it?
Multiple times.
Um,
Oh yeah, for sure. My mind just starts
yeah,
racing,
and I
and
think
yeah.
what we tend to want to do is talk our way out of the fear. It's like, wait,
Oh yeah,
Fear,
no,
you're not
that's
making any
great.
sense right now. I mean, I got all this, and I'm a badass, and I got all this money in the bank, or I got da-da-da-da-da. There's nothing to worry about.
I'm a
And
badass. Yeah,
does it
yeah,
help?
yeah,
Versus if you were to sit there and think, even in the middle of the night, in the middle of or at the beginning of a tough presentation, what if you just said, and I've been trying this, and it's hard, but it's like, okay, I, it's perfectly understandable that I would be afraid right now because I don't know this. I'm doing something new. I'm going through this life thing for the first time. Maybe,
yeah.
I mean, if the Buddhists aren't right, I'm going through it for the first.
Right,
And
right,
even if they
right.
are, I'm
This is
unaware
the
of my
first
other
time.
lives. But
Right, so I'm still doing it.
it's
It
still the
seems like
first.
brand
It's still
new.
new to me, and so
Right.
of course. Okay, so go ahead. Go ahead, Fear. What do you got? Because normally I think fear has a lesson for you. Um,
Yes.
and like all of our emotions, like I used to think that there were good emotions and bad emotions. And then I had a teacher who said, no, we're designed to, why do you think all the emotions exist? Because we are designed to experience them all, and they're all
Yeah.
beneficial to us. He said, anger is a signal that something needs to change. So if you know that, or if you believe that, and you think about that the next time you get mad, and you go, what change is this trying to create in me?
Do I need to change something? Does it need to be a change in my environment? Does this other person need to make a change? Where is the
Do I
change
just
happening?
get
But
away
it's about
from
change.
this thing, or whatever? But a lot of times we just get
Yeah.
angry and we stay angry, and then
Yeah. And we take it out on other people as if they're the problem, and in reality, we've got something that needs
yeah,
to
I mean it's
change.
all hard, and it's all big, and it's all new to me, but it's all really exciting because I think that what it starts to show you as a human being is that it really is okay to feel whatever you're feeling, and to let your guard down, even with yourself. I mean, I think most of us can't even let our guards down
Yeah.
with ourselves. I mean, the middle of the night fear example is a perfect one. I'm sitting there by
Yeah.
myself. I'm not on Facebook Live
No
right
one's
now,
saying that, no one's shouting this at me.
but
Yeah, yeah.
I can't even let my guard down with myself. Um,
Oh
and that's why
man.
it's so hard. But I think the more people do that, and also it's not even conversely. It's in addition to, if brands were to do that and start thinking, what are the people really fighting that my brand can actually help? And then how can I
Mhm.
say that in a way? Because maybe weight isn't what my consumers are really fighting. I mean, why do
Yeah.
you want to lose weight? Because you don't want to be made fun of, or because you want to feel better about yourself, or because
I want my mom to be proud of me. I want my
it
dad to be
isn't
proud of
I
me.
want to weigh
Yeah.
180 pounds. It's something else. And so if you start to understand, if as a brand, if you just asked yourself this, why might my consumer think that they are not cool enough for me? Most of us, I
Yeah.
think, in marketing or in brands, think, how can we make sure that we seem cool enough for them? My question is exactly the opposite. Maybe they don't feel cool
Mhm.
enough for you.
And we're outcasting them by saying, "Look at how cool this thing is. You want to be a part of it." And they're like, "Man, I've never been a part of the Cool Kids Club. Why would I
Even
start
people that
now?"
are like doing their best to be inspirational to others, how
Okay.
easy is it for me, if I haven't got what that person has, to look at that person and go, great story, I'll never be able to do that? You're trying to be an inspiration, and you've made it,
Yeah.
and you've battled all of these obstacles, and if I can do it, anybody can. And you don't believe that as the person with the objection.
No. And we've also been desensitized to a lot of inspirational stuff that leads nowhere because of either our objections or because the people we're
Well, if
full
they're
with.
trying to sell me something through their inspiration, that's one thing. But what if they're just like
Yeah.
trying to be altruistically inspirational?
Someone doesn't allow that message to come across because of the
I don't see
objections
any
they're putting
cracks in your
forward.
story. I don't see any. You're so amazing. You're untouchable, and I can't be you. So
Yeah.
thanks, but I'm not cool enough for you.
I think you could people who have inspirational stories and talk about how they came from a really poor place or parents weren't around or they survived something. I think there's a lot of people who they've had other kinds of traumatic events. Maybe they went through severe depression. Um, Maybe they were just kind of bullied in school. Maybe they didn't have parents that really cared or built into them, but they didn't have these detrimental events, those big things that seem cataclysmic to people. And because they haven't had those, they think, well, I'm not going to be successful like that person. I haven't had that crazy, deep, dark
Yeah, that could be
low
too.
like they've had it in that way. And so I'm never going to be that big top tier person. I'm just going to be mediocre because I didn't live a crazy messed up life. And in reality, they probably had a lot of things that were messed up, and they had some traumas that they went through, and that they're still trying to work through. It's just different kinds of traumas. Like if you're going to say, well, what's worse, having your arm cut off or depression?
I don't think you can. I don't
How
think
do
you
you
can measure your trauma against somebody else's. I think it.
exactly? That's exactly it. So saying, well, what they went through was more difficult than what I went through. Well, how do you know what their mindset was? And look at what they've achieved after coming through that. If like you can also achieve in coming through something as well, but maybe people minimize and say, "Oh, I don't have something like
Yeah,
that. I don't
that's
have
just
this like
that
that.
same.
So I don't need anything to
That's that same
achieve."
thing we've been talking about. That's that insecurity, or I'm not good enough, or I'm not. I don't have it as bad as that person, so I should feel shame about that. Um, but it's good. We're starting to talk about it. I'm going to see if I can help more and more and more brands do this. I would.
I want to work with you on some of the brands that we have on Amazon
Cool.
because I think we could. This is the one show that I've not even really. You mentioned Amazon before I did,
Well,
which is kind of
yeah.
cool. I like this a lot, and this is now officially our longest
Oh
episode.
wow.
Um,
We
and,
better.
and normally we go 30 minutes, but I'm like, this conversation's
I
too good.
appreciate it, man. That's
I
fun to
really
do.
I really can't chop it off. But tell us what is. Can you tell us
Well, I mean,
of the brand
it
that you
will
are
if
working
the
on?
USPTO gives me a trademark for it, it will be to love the brand. So I want people to love the brand. I want
Okay.
brands to have a brand that people freaking love. Because for me, it makes everything easier. It makes
Yeah.
marketing's not pushing a 300-pound sled across concrete anymore. It's actually maybe a little bit smoother and a joy, and you get what so many people say they want, which is brand loyalty and a community and people that believe. But the way you make them believe is make an amazing product, but then understand the barriers to me grabbing that product because I don't feel cool enough for it. Better the
Right.
product, the more barriers I have, or the deeper my barriers are. So figure out what those things are,
Ooh.
and then meet me where I am with your messaging, create the bond, and then deliver what you promised. Listen to me, make sure your customer service is really good. Make sure that all those touch points are always bringing me back to that soothing thought that you gave me in the beginning. And you got
Yeah.
me forever. Nobody that comes along and makes you the same formula or that makes the same shoe or that makes the whatever is going to be able to detach me from you because you're the one that's actually making, unless somebody else figures out a way to make as good of a product and make me feel even better about myself.
Right, and therein lies, "Oh, now I'm experiencing difficulty as a
But
brand. How can we use that opportunity to grow and get more in touch
you
with our
just got to
consumer?"
keep loving them and you got to keep understanding what is, you got to keep understanding what makes them not like themselves that much sometimes. Because I think,
So, yeah, I think you have to just keep loving them is great for brands and their consumers. I also think it's a great thing just to say in our world is you just got to keep loving them, even if they hate themselves, even if they say they hate you. You have to keep loving them because hating them back will not. It is
that's okay.
proven
It's
to
okay.
not change.
You're doing the best you can with what you got at your disposal. And
Love without. And I think sometimes as humans, as a brand, we say, well, we're going to love that person, and ultimately we do want something in exchange. But as humans, I think we have to remember that we may not always get love back from that same person that
it's
we're loving.
okay.
It might come from
Yeah.
somewhere else, and try to love without expectation of return, because when you expect something in return and you don't get it, you feel slighted. But if you can just give love away for free, it's
Yeah.
so easy to do once you feel good and you're in that place. And sometimes it's difficult. Like I hear like you know, um, a voice in my head, I think is probably God saying, Michael, you need to really love on that person. I'm like, I don't want to love on that person. That person, I hate that person. And it's like, yeah, well, that's why you need to do it, silly. And I'm like, oh, okay. But then I have to really challenge myself and say, how am I going to love that person when I don't even feel it? And I think that can be some of the most powerful and impactful stuff. And if we start to embrace those kind of emotions like that, I think that everything could be really
I love
incredible.
it.
Tell people where can people find you, Erik? Are you going to be potentially directing a new Snickers commercial where we're talking about how to love the brand? Are you going to be
You
on
can find me
LinkedIn?
on
Where can people find you?
LinkedIn. It's just Erik
Okay.
Kiker. It's just my name, and just listen to me shoot off my mouth and say something. Or
That was great. That's a great tagline. Listen to me shoot off my mouth and say something. By the way, lurkers out there on LinkedIn, because this will eventually get posted on LinkedIn. I'll probably post about it, and Erik will get some content as well. But like this and comment, because it actually gets more visibility. People start to
that
see
would
what
be
you like
nice.
and comment, and it gets it more visibility. So Erik, thank you so much for
Thanks,
coming on the
Michael.
show. I thoroughly enjoyed
Me
myself.
too.
I can't wait until we have our next conversation, and I can't wait until we get to
All
meet in
right, man.
person.
I'm loving it.
This has been the Longer Game, where we talk about the future of retail and apparently just the future of the world. I think that what we've talked about today, talking about altruistic capitalism, a lot of people look down upon capitalism, and I think there's bad people in every single area and aspect, and I think that capitalism has the power to really help and change the world. And so I think the future of retail, and as we look at people shopping across multiple channels and um, consumer behavior changing, people are really making decisions about the brands that they buy that fit into their lifestyle, and that, like Erik has said many times, help them to feel better about themselves. And so I think the way forward with retail is not just being omni-channel, but it's about being intentional about your consumer and helping people to love themselves more. So thanks for
Love it.
tuning in. Thanks for tuning in, everyone, and see y'all later. Thank you for listening to The Longer Game. We genuinely appreciate your time. And if you want to connect with us, please reach out to thelongergame.com. You can fill out a contact request form there. You can also find us on majority of the social media platforms, except for Twitter. That's the only one that we're not really on. This show is brought to you by my agency, Cartology, where we're helping brands accelerate growth and become profitable on Amazon. If you'd like to know more, go to thinkcartology.com, fill out a contact form, and we'll get on the phone. That's what it's all about, connecting with you and building a relationship. This show is also brought to you by Arch DevOps. They're the ones that are helping make all the logistics of this podcast happen. We are so thankful for them. If you want to get your podcast up and running and you want to automate as many things as possible, go to archdevops.com. That's ARCHDEVOPS.com, and reach out to them. They can be super, super helpful. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you have a great rest of your day and be blessed.